If you're an up-and-coming pro football player, chances are high that you want to play in Europe. It has the best leagues with the best clubs and the most money. It is the most powerful place in football. Or is it? The two biggest players of the game just left Europe. Now you could argue it's because they are growing old. But maybe there is something larger at play. Messi rejected all European offers to move to Miami, to a league that was ranked behind Bundesliga 2. But today, MLS is in the top 10. Suddenly people around the world are wearing MLS shirts. Apple and Adidas are investing, and stadiums are sold out. Messi mania is a prime example of a superstar economy. But it might sound familiar. In 2007, David Beckham shocked the football world when he left Madrid to join LA Galaxy. It had a similar effect like Messi. Every metric increased. But it didn't last. Other clubs tried to copy and brought in their own big names. And MLS became known as a retirement league. History could repeat itself. But on closer inspection, it looks like this time could be different. Because MLS seems to follow a larger plan that could soon make the US one of the most important football nations in the world. It's a plan that involves one of the world's biggest superstars, the world's biggest company, and the world's biggest event. And it has something to do with this map. Welcome to Athletic Interest and America's plan to take over football. MLS has one problem. Americans love football, just the wrong type. Take a look at this graph. American football dominates, and soccer barely even registers. It's the same story when looking at revenue, attendance, and viewing figures. And it's not like the sport isn't popular elsewhere. FIFA claims that 5 billion people like football, but not many of them live here. And it gets even worse for MLS. It's not even in the top 3 most watched football competitions in its own country. To understand why, we need to take a deeper look at the typical American soccer fan. Now, of course, not every fan fits this mold, but according to the stats, the typical American soccer fan checks a few interesting boxes. Their favorite player is Messi, they probably own a dog, they vote Democrat and are more likely to have a passport than any other sports fan. Most importantly, they are probably Latino. But Latinos make up just 30% of MLS fans. That gap is the main problem. MLS has long struggled to win over the most important demographic of fans in the US. Hispanics and Latinos are the fastest growing population segment. A population which grew up playing football, and most consider it their favorite sport. It's also the population with the fastest growing financial wealth. So MLS needs Latinos more than they need MLS. The problem can be explained by overlaying this map of MLS teams in 2015 on top of this map of the US Hispanic or Latino population. MLS has learned from its mistakes and started adding more and more teams in the South. And it has come up with a plan to finally win over this audience. It ends with the World Cup and MLS being bigger than La Liga. And it begins with this photo. David Beckham and Lionel Messi have met several times on the pitch over the years, but this moment was probably the most significant. Messi saw one of the biggest names in football playing in MLS. When he was presented with the same opportunity 15 years later, it didn't seem that ridiculous anymore. When Beckham joined MLS in 2007, he was given the option to start his own franchise when he retired. Inter Miami was born in 2018, and there was one player that Beckham always wanted to sign. He achieved that shortly after this photo was taken. Both men have a long history of investments off the pitch, one that we've covered on the channel. From Messi's hotels and holding company to Beckham's investments in tech startups and his own whiskey brand. Not to mention one of Beckham's longest-running investments outside of football and possibly one of his most valuable. His collection of high-value fine art. Ultra-rare pieces worth millions from global names like Andy Warhol or fellow Brits like the mysterious Banksy. Which brings us to today's video sponsor, Masterworks. Not all art in the market will reach those kinds of heights, but the kind of contemporary art Beckham collects has still shown to outpace traditional investments like the S&P from 1995 to 2024. Right now, using the QR code on screen, you can unlock the high-powered world of art investing. Masterworks enables everyday investors to join in on multi-million-dollar art investments in a few of the same artists as Beckham, including Warhol and Banksy. Their art investing platform has distributed back a total of more than $60 million in investor proceeds, including principal, across their 23 exits. Masterworks recently posted another profitable return from selling a Basquiat painting for $8 million earlier this year. With offerings typically ranging from $500,000 to $20 million, shares sometimes sell out in minutes. However, our viewers can skip the waitlist and start investing today with the QR code on screen, the link in the description, or at masterworks.art/athletic-interest. But now, back to our story. Inter Miami is probably the most important team in MLS right now, and not just because they have Messi. Take a closer look at the club's badge. It's in Spanish, and the club supporters groups. They are collectively known as La Familia. The club's own website even makes several references to football instead of soccer. This is a club that specifically speaks to the Latino population. Even the location of the club was on purpose. 70% of Miami's population is of Latin or Hispanic background. None of this is a coincidence. MLS understood that it needed to represent the Latino community if it wanted their support. That's where Messi comes in. Messi has always been the most popular footballer in the US. To some, he is like a god. Messi moving to Inter Miami was about drawing as much attention as possible. And it appears to be working. Messi's shirt was Adidas' top seller across all sports. Millions have signed up to Apple TV just to watch him play. And perhaps most importantly, Messi just replaced Michael Jordan as the most popular athlete in the United States. But Messi is just one part of this plan. Remember that MLS gets less viewers in the United States than the Mexican First Division? They decided to do something about that. If you can't beat them, join them. The Leagues Cup was started a few years before Messi joined. It's an annual competition featuring teams from MLS and Liga MX. Combining these two fan bases has worked. The Leagues Cup gets more US viewers than the Premier League or Champions League, something MLS has never achieved. The first three phases of this plan are focused on getting Latino fans, but MLS doesn't want to stop there. It wants to be one of the biggest leagues on the planet. That brings us to the FIFA World Cup. The last time the United States hosted a World Cup was 1994, and it caused a massive increase in interest for football in the US. At that time, MLS was just getting established and failed to capitalize. 2026 should be different. MLS now has teams in most major cities. It also has one of the most important footballers on the planet. Millions across the US will be getting World Cup fever, but not everyone will get a ticket. MLS will be there as an alternative. A World Cup also brings international attention. Apple can help with this. The deal between MLS and Apple allows matches to be streamed worldwide with no blackouts. Anyone with an Apple account can sign up to one service and get every MLS match, no matter where they live. That's something unheard of in sports broadcasting. Usually, you have different national broadcasters owning the rights in each country. So it is almost impossible for fans from different countries to discuss game highlights on social media. Because a video that is available in Germany might be geo-blocked in England and vice versa. In our digital age, this sounds incredibly outdated. But it is how the sports media rights market works. Apple and the MLS are now the first to change it. So the future of MLS looks promising. But have they learned their biggest lesson? Turning short-term hype into long-term growth. That brings us to Messi's children. To be sustainable, MLS needs to start creating its own stars. Improving the overall quality of the league will keep fans interested. If quality drops, they will just switch over to the Premier League. That's why MLS is investing a lot in youth. A new initiative allows MLS clubs to sign 3 players under 22 on lucrative contracts without impacting the salary cap. MLS clubs can now compete for the best young talent on the transfer market, and it prevents their own talent from going off to Europe in search for more money. This appears to be working. More than half of the most recent transfers into MLS were under 24. MLS teams are also trying to develop more of their own talent. Most now have youth academies. Messi's children are currently impressing in the Inter Miami Academy. Most of the youth players compete in the MLS Next Pro League, a newly created reserve league that hopes to develop domestic talent. This will also help MLS grow internationally. The plan is for MLS clubs to start selling some of their young talent to leagues in Europe. If your club starts buying from MLS, then surely the league can't be that bad. It may sound odd or unlikely right now, but the United States is on track to become one of the most important footballing nations. It has always had an untapped audience and unmet potential. And now, it has a growing national league, one of the world's greatest footballers, and, in 2026, the world's attention. Don't forget that this is the same nation that makes billions from a sport that is only really played within their borders. Imagine what will happen when they get their hands on the biggest sport on the planet.